We are back with episode 107. My name is Ethan Shalloway. I am joined with Chris Salona for another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. Did I already say that? Did I say Grunge Bible Podcast earlier?
I'll say it again. Grunge Bible Podcast, episode 107. Thank you all for being here. We're happy to be here as always. And Ethan, how are we doing today? How's it going?
Yeah, we're doing good.
Nice.
Yeah, energy levels are really high. We're recording at the end of the week. It's a Friday. Pretty free day. It's nice out right now. I think it's going to rain a little bit. But all in all, my energy is quite high. I'm feeling really good. And we've got a great episode, so I feel like it's going to be an easy one to talk about. Sometimes
we really do, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to find the words. Sometimes it's easy. Today's one of those days where it should be fairly easy because we love this topic.
Yes, because today, April 10th, is the anniversary of Alice in Chains' recording of their Unplugged performance that later became the iconic compact disc and now the iconic live album. So there's no better time to commemorate that than on the day of its anniversary. And that would be 27 years in the past, the time of recording. And if you're listening to this in the distant future, you can do the math yourself. But really, really one of the more fantastic live performances of the era. So we're excited to talk about that. That is one of the many reasons, the myriad of reasons that I am excited today. It's Friday. I had a really good week. I'm feeling good. It's warming up, and we get to talk about grunge rock today. So I'm really, really fired up about that. Yeah, check that one off the list.
Hey, you've been doing that a lot recently. Grunge rock.
I have been. Yeah, it's been a little bit too often. Maybe I think I need to accrue some penalty time for my efforts. But
to the box.
Yeah, I'm the man in the box. What can I say? So. The way it goes.
It's been really solid. We're going to talk about the episode, kind of go through or talk about the concert, go song by song, and talk about some of the quirks that happened and just why it's such a legendary performance, an important performance.
It's really it's of great historical significance. I think when you look back, and the Unplugged shows, just something about the contrast that that these guys played, unplugged, and when you would see them live on the road plugged in, I mean, it was so loud, it was so different, and these were one-offs. So it's really, really special. And I think just like the sonic differences, that creates a big draw, I think, to it. But also with Alice in Chains, the point in time where this one happened, I think, adds to the significance of it because, knowing what we know about the band and where they were at the time and what was going on with Lane and what was to come, I think that adds some, a dark cloud over this one and some added significance that we will certainly get into on this episode. But yeah, for sure, one of the more notable times I think Alice in Chains ever took the stage was on that night in Brooklyn in 1996.
Yeah, and the crazy part, I can't believe that it was 2.5 years since they had played any show. I think it was like the first show in 2.5 years, and that is quite the re-entrance, quite the performance you can do after not playing together for all those reasons. I mean,
it absolutely is. So, and I'm looking forward to discussing all of those things on this episode, and this episode would not be possible without the support of the many legions of individuals who choose to support us. If you're downloading our episodes, if you're leaving reviews, you're sharing it with friends, a little podcast evangelization going on, or if you're giving us your money. And as you know, if you've listened before, or if you're new here, and I'm about to tell you, there are two very easy ways for you to give us your money. Number one, you can buy our merchandise. Our store is linked in the show notes. You can get yourself a nice little t-shirt. It might not be beanie season, but you could do the beanie and roll it up above the ears for like a little summertime look. You get the Grunge Bible beanie. We got crew necks, which are always in season. But more importantly, and more directly, if you want to give us your money, you can sign up for our Patreon support club. You can become a patron, linked in the show notes, at a $2, $5, or $10 per month level. That is the most direct way to support us, and that keeps this podcast rolling along we're just clicking down the miles here on the tracks in year 2. And of everybody who chooses to support us on Patreon, it's a pretty big choice and a significant choice that a lot of these people that I'm about to read, that they've made for a long time to support us at our top level. And at this time, I would like to thank those people who, month in and month out, are giving us $10 of their hard-earned legal tender to make this podcast roll. So I would like to thank Corden Stewart, Christine Shepard, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Shoe the Shoeless, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Marianne, Laura Nyreen, The Blue Owl, Alexis Shannon, Black Hole Sean, Alex Long, Millie, Nikki Six, Rachel Corning, Brother Nature, Captain Hightop, Kara K, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Doug Endy, Chris LSMS, Carlene Salona, Jamie Lynn, Jade Mercado, Granny Grunge, Faith Bittner, Fresh Tendonitis, and Fuck Soup. So to all of those individuals, a very, very sincere thank you for your support, and you allow us to commemorate events such as Alice in Chains Unplugged, 27 years to the day.
Yeah, let me just talk out a scenario here for everybody that's on the fence about becoming a supporter. So
yeah, you have a theory here. You have some sort of let's hear it.
Yeah, something that may entice the listeners to get on board. It's Monday morning. You wake up. Obviously, Wood is playing Into the Flood. You get in your car and you stop at the gas station because you got to get your cigarettes for the day, right?
Right.
And then you got to get a cup of coffee, or maybe you're an energy drink person, right? All of a sudden, you ring up a tab of $8, probably 10. The price of cigarettes, or maybe you got your Zyn. And, you do that probably, maybe twice a week or something like that. And all we're asking is that you do the same. If maybe you're listening to Grunge Bible podcast in the car as well. Like I said, you get your cigarettes and you get your coffee. And, it's the Holy Trinity. You can't have one and not the other two. You need to have them all. So
yeah.
I just think it's a good opportunity that, this is your decision, right? You're choosing to support. We're not, no one's forcing you to give your money up. In the words of Alice in Chains,
this is your decision.
Yes, no one likes those fees that you can't control, but
right.
There's some ownership here. So you can have some ownership with this Grunge Bible podcast, and
there really is.
Decide to join.
And there's a lot of quantitative study that's been done relative to the Grunge Bible podcast and the energy boost that you receive from supporting us and listening to us as an active supporter.
Yes.
Greatly exceeds any sort of boost that you may get from a 300 milligram energy drink or a, extra large hot coffee or even nicotine sometimes. This is Chris, scientifically proven, as we know.
And Chris, I'm not even telling them to cut that out. I'm just saying that if you're willing to spend the money,
add to it.
Yeah, if you're willing to spend the $3, $5, $7 for miscellaneous gas station stuff, let's get the podcast. Give it some support. $2. That's all we have for one whole month. A whole month. $2.
So that's we are one of the few industries that the prices have not gone up. Along with inflation, we're true to the people, we're true to the consumers, and we'll never raise our prices. Read my lips, no new taxes.
My fingers are crossed just in case we do for some reason.
Exactly. So all right, let's get into Alice in Chains Unplugged. I've got a quick tale of the tape here. So as we spoke, April 10th, 1996, this shindig went down at the Majestic Theater in Brooklyn, New York. It was first aired on May 28th, 1996 on Music Television. And then it saw its release on CD later that year on the 30th of July in 1996. And lastly, in 1996 on VHS, October 8th, 1996, it came out. So, within a few months, they got this thing done. And Ethan, you made a really, really good point that I think is the most significant thing to consider when it comes to the time and place that this happened. This was their first show since they were doing a benefit show on November 7th, 1994. So 2.5 years. And I think it's really important to consider everything that had happened, in 1994, 1995, and 1996 as it relates to the band, and what would happen after this show. So, Jar of Flies is in 1994. They don't tour to support it. They played a one-off benefit show in November of that year in 94. Lane's struggles with substance abuse have only grown by this time, 94, 95, 96, really harrowing times, and unfortunately a sign of what was to come. But in between that last Alice in Chains show and Unplugged, you had the Mad Season record come out, and you also had the Alice in Chains Tripod record come out, and, all throughout that time, there were some aborted plans to tour, and, canceled the day before different tours that they were supposed to be on. The band was, and they cited, health issues within the band. And I think by that point, the general public had a good understanding of what that meant. Lane was really, really struggling. And the fact that they were able to get it together here to put this show on in April of 1996 is really, really incredible. And it's one of the last moments that we really had with Lane and with the classic, with the second iteration of the Alice in Chains lineup, after Mike Starr's departure from the band earlier, Mike Inez taking over. But after Unplugged, Lane only made 6 more appearances with Alice in Chains, all coming in 1996. And the final appearance that he made in 1996 would be his last with the band and be his last, in a live setting. So I think it's one of those things that when you look back, the significance of that moment only grows, because we know at this point how the story ended for that incarnation of the band, and how Lane's time here came to an end. A lot of the things that made it so difficult for him, even to get on the stage for this show, ultimately ended up being what did him in. So I think looking back for me, and I want to get your kind of overarching emotional reaction to this performance, there's just that cloud over it, and just that aura of sadness that you feel. It's like it's the end of something, and you can feel it when you listen to it, and you can see it when you watch it all these years later.
Yeah, my as I watched it back, I kind of went through each one, but took particular notice to like the beginning and the ending. And in the beginning, like obviously they come on and Jerry is starting up the song, and then Mike Inez comes on and starts playing some bass, and Lane's the last one to walk on, and he's got his dark shades on, and like you said, obviously this was played in a theater, and that is the best way to describe this whole thing. I mean, it really is. It's a performance. It's not just like a rock show or whatever. It's like theatrical the way they do this, and it has so much emotion tied into it. And then same when they're ending, it's like, they're hugging each other, and it's like if you could tell it was a success, and it was just an emotional release for everybody in the crowd. And it's just different. It just feels so different. It's like I said, it's very raw and emotion filled. And I think the best word is, like I said, theatrical. Like it really does all of those things. Just how, actors are like proud afterwards and take a bow. Like, I mean, I feel like that's how it was received by the crowd. It was really good.
Yeah, and something that I think we don't take into account, being the ages that we are in our 20s and not having been alive to consume this at the time. Something that we forget about is just the contrast that this show represented. I mean, this is the same group of guys, with the exception of the Switch on bass. I mean, the shirtless facelift era, just in your face, this visceral pounding energy on stage, loud in your face. And they cut Sap and they cut Jar of Flies in the studio, which is another side, but not having played those songs that much live, and certainly not in a setting where the focus was almost on that other side of Alice in Chains, where people were able to buy a ticket or get a ticket and go and see it live. So different, and such a big contrast for this band that was, had a large amount of metal in their blood. I mean, they came from that scene, in the beginning. It's like they were marketed as a metal band, and to see a band like that take the stage with these acoustic instruments and present a lot of songs that people are used to hearing in a very, very loud way, and you hear them and you can feel the different layers to these songs, and the just how intricate a lot of them were, and it was really, really beautiful. I totally agree with what you said in terms of like these songs and this performance made for great theater, but at the same time, it's tough because that's what you feel, but it's also for the guys on stage and what they're struggling with. It's not theater. It's their lives and Lane, obviously, I cannot, for however many times I'll listen to this or watch the videos or watch the performance, I cannot stop thinking about Lane and just how sad it is. I think we forget a lot of times, or at least I do, that these were people, and we spoke about this one of our shows in December about the self-titled album, that the Lane, Kurt, Andrew Wood, like these were real people and real problems, and they occupied space the same way that I do, and it's strange to get a look into people's darkest moments, and I think we got to look into the darkest parts that Lane was in conflict with internally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is sad. It is a sad story at the end of it, and yeah, I guess luckily we have this to kind of go back and remember the talent, but extremely brave of Lane to do to be on stage and to put a lot of his emotions out there. We talk about that a lot. That's the hardest part about being a songwriter, is usually it comes from a dark time and you're just so open to the world and letting people see everything about you.
Right.
Or, you put a lot of it on paper at least, and maybe not everything, but that's always impressed me by these artists, is that they were open to people and open to the idea of sharing it. So
absolutely. And when it comes to this specific performance, I love the way that the stage was dressed. I love the candles, which the candles were Lane's idea. The story is that he purchased
from
them
Pike
himself,
Place.
And he brought them all the way from Seattle. And he was able to get that into it. Another, I think, famous part of the lore of this show was our man Jerry Cantrell. He was going through it. So the story goes that he was sick at the time, and he was enduring a case of food poisoning, evidently from a hot dog that he had consumed at some point before the gig. And I believe if you go back and look,
glizzies,
those glizzies will get you. And you can see at different points there is a trash can near him on the stage in the event that he would need to extricate that poisoning from his body. But thankfully that did not occur, or to the best of my knowledge did not occur. And additionally, I think something that gives this performance so much flavor that I think if you're listening, you don't really think about, but when you watch, you can tell. Scott Olson came in and played incredible guitar on this, playing beautiful licks. He played some lead guitar, he played some rhythm guitar, and he just added such a unique flavor, I think, that you didn't get, because Alice in Chains, they're a 4-piece band, and then when you add that second guitar in, it gives Jerry more space, and it gives that second guitarist, Scotty Olson, it gives him space to operate. And I'll tell you, some of the work that they did, and some of the licks that he added to songs like No Excuses and Got Me Wrong, for me, really put a lot of these performances over the top. And they're the reason why for a lot of these songs, their performance that day at Unplugged are much more interesting for me to listen to sometimes than even the studio recordings. And I think Scott was a big part of that, and I give props to the band for making that decision to bring somebody else in, and I give props to Mr. Olson for being able to come in and do such a fantastic job.
Props to Mr. Olson, absolutely.
Props to Mr. Olson, absolutely. The other lovely Easter egg that everybody, most people seem to be aware of, is the inscription that was on Mike Inez's bass, the classic "Friends don't let friends get friends" haircuts, a classic jab at the band Metallica, who had recently, at the time of the show, they had recently cut their hair and cleaned up for the cameras, and friends don't let friends get friends haircuts, and we abided by that for a while in our lives. You can't cut your hair, but
mine's getting pretty long. I'm able to put it in the a small little bun, so I'm growing it back out a little bit for fun.
That.
So don't let me get a haircut, even though I
know.
want to get a cut.
It's the internal struggle. It happens in all of us.
Dude, it really is, man.
Yeah. So let's get into this, and something that I love about this this performance, and I think it's different than what Nirvana did. So Nirvana, obviously, they and Kurt made a point to play a lot of songs that were not popular or that were not well known, and he played a lot of covers. And Alice in Chains, they gave you a lot of their really popular songs, but it just speaks to the musicianship that they have and that they had that night, that they could completely transform a lot of these songs that people had heard incessantly. I mean, by that time, it had been a few years since Down in a Hole and Wood, songs like that came out, Got Me Wrong even, and they were able to present them in such a way that I think they transformed those songs that night on stage. But right from the jump, and you mentioned this at the beginning, they start with Nutshell, which is an absolutely just sobering way to start this, especially with the fact that the band's coming out one by one, and then Lane comes in right before right before the vocals start. Like he just gets to his seat in time, to hit that "We Chase Misprinted Lies," and obviously the whole crowd erupts. And I mean, to start out with this song, I think it's such a statement for the state of affairs that the band found themselves in at that time. And this one having come off of Jar of Flies, you wouldn't have seen this at an Alice in Chains show because there weren't any. So for this to be the first live performance, for all intents and purposes, of a lot of the songs that you heard on Jar of Flies, I mean, Nutshell, I mean, this is the definitive version, undoubtedly.
Yeah, and I think them picking this to be the opening song, I mean, you could have closed with it or maybe put it in the middle, obviously, but it is such it really sets the tone that this is what we're going to do. This is kind of how it's going to go. And just the instruments throughout this whole show is just incredible. And we're going to talk about that. Like, obviously, all the guitar work, Sean Kinney on drums, we're going to talk about him a lot. I already know that.
We are going to talk about him a lot.
He's just so good. I mean, they really were on in a beautiful way. And then, of course, Lane and Jerry harmonizing the whole time. And so this one was good. You guys know that we love Nutshell a ton. So,
right.
There's nothing more to be said. I think that's just
a great and it's
opener.
Interesting, and I'd love to get the opinion and the perspective. I mean, even of somebody who may have been there, and what the expectation was going in versus the stream of consciousness feeling that you would get as they go Nutshell, and then for song number 2 they go into Brother off of Sap. I mean, this is another really, really heavy one, and the best songs and the most emotional songs are the ones that can elicit that emotion you felt the first time you listened, time and time again. And Brother is one of those songs, and especially this performance after the bridge, when they're going in and they're harmonizing Pictures in a Box at Home, yellowing and green with mold, so I can barely see your face, wonder how that color tastes. And there's no instrumentation going on. It's just Lane and Jerry singing together. Absolutely chilling. And the vocal play that those two had every time they took the stage, in sickness and in health, is just absolutely unbelievable. And the fact that Lane, and this is true of the subsequent performances that he gave in 1996, I mean, really not well, a physical shadow of his former self because of the addiction that he had been struggling with for so long. Despite all of that, his ability to perform and to perform so well, I will never understand. It's otherworldly. It's so impressive.
Yeah, his voice, even being, maybe not as strong as it was, it's still so haunting and so special. I mean, I wrote down, it's no Fogerty, but it is. It's no John Fogerty.
On a big Fogerty kick. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that later.
Yeah, but yeah, he this is another beautifully arranged and executed song. Kenny just bringing a beautiful beat the whole time. Man. The acoustic solos that you get throughout this time are just so good. The way they bend, the bending of every string, and it's so AIC. Like it is so good.
And the room that the drummers had, because that space is not occupied by these loud guitars plugged into Marshall half stacks. I mean, these are it's subdued, and I'll tell you,
the next song.
No
the
excuses. Sean Kinney's drum intro on this is so
amazing.
Good. It's better. I love how echoey it is and poppy it is. Like, not pop as in the genre, but like it's popping, like pop, pop, pop.
Yes.
How it is on Jar of Flies. But I mean, this live is just incredible. And I think that when he starts,
it's just so clever to me.
It is. And when he starts No Excuses, here is the third song. It kind of, I think, breaks people out of that just like somber, reverent mood that you must have been in after hearing Nutshell and hearing Brother and seeing the band walk out there. When Sean starts going, it's so good. And like I said, Scott Olson, the lead guitar and the licks that he provides, just everywhere in the right spot for this one. And No Excuses is just.
I saw a great.
It's amazing.
I was looking through some of the comments and stuff, and everybody was mentioning Sean and like everyone. And I saw one that was great. It's like he shows incredible restraint and emphasis at the same time.
Yeah,
and I loved it because it's exactly it. Like the way that he crescendos and kind of pops at the right time, good accents, and then brings it back down. He plays soft. It's just restraint and emphasis.
Yeah, these are skills. These are skills that not everybody has, and not everybody is even able to attain. It's very similar, Ethan, as a javelin thrower. The dichotomy of having to be so patient with part of yourself, but also so unbelievably aggressive. At the same time, and that is a very difficult thing to do, especially in this setting. I mean, an unplugged setting, because it's so unforgiving. I mean, you've got to hit everything just right, and it just speaks to these guys are professionals. I mean, continuing on with the athletics metaphor. I mean, the best basketball players, you put them at the free throw line, they'll make hundreds of free throws in a row, or they'll make 497 out of 500 of them. I mean, that's what these guys do. This is their job. They are professionals. And when they're in those high stakes situations that could be a little unforgiving, I mean, they just nail it. And that's what they all did here.
Yeah, there's I remember talking to somebody, like when people cover other people's music, or they cover, say, like a guitar solo, like you can learn the part, but you'll never play it the same as the person that wrote it. Like,
you can cover the notes, but you cannot cover the feel.
And there is so, like, when and these guys just obviously know this stuff inside and out, where
because
like
they created these sounds.
The way that Kenny's playing, it's like unbelievable confidence, and then Jerry, same thing, and like it's just. They carry themselves through these songs.
They really do.
The only way that, like, I was trying to think if somebody else could play these songs, like how it would work, but it just wouldn't have that extra bit that.
Exactly. It's got that. It's like when you try to make a recipe that your grandmother had, and it never comes out quite like hers because it wasn't her hands, working the dough. It's just that weird variable that exists.
And that's a great example. Is you can follow a recipe, but that doesn't, and you can cook, but that doesn't mean you're a good chef. You know what I mean? Like,
it really is. Yeah. One more thought about No Excuses. I have to wonder, with everything that had gone on, Jerry having written this song for Lane, I wonder what he was thinking about, especially at the point, we've spoken about this line a lot, and it's one of my favorites, but you, my friend, I will defend, and if we change, well, I love you anyway. And I have to wonder, like, what the emotion and what the thoughts were at that time, given everything that was going on, and given how the band knew how much Lane was struggling. It had to have been a weird moment, and eerie in a way.
Yeah. Next song. Moving into the Sludge Factory.
The Sludge Factory. Yeah, let's pull up to the Sludge Factory. Now, we get a little false start here on the Sludge Factory.
I know, and Lane, I love it.
Yeah, I love it. But that's what we said. Fuck! I mean, this is
He's like,
it's so good. Yeah. Jerry's like, we're allowed a couple of those.
Yeah, it's been a little while. You get a redo, you get some more time with us.
Exactly.
I think that's so good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. moments like that, just as the way that maybe Sean, has this specific way of swinging his drumsticks. I mean, like it adds that flavor. And it, they're professionals, but they're people,
Well, and this is the theater side of it too, where I was like, you watch it and it's like there's some crowd interaction going on. They kind of talk a little bit and then they go back into it. And it's obviously it's not planned, but you could almost say that it was. You know what I mean? Like it's all part of it all fits into what they do.
Mm-hmm. It really does. Yeah, but this is a great one, and this one's great in the unplugged setting. And once again, I can't help but harp on the eeriness of the lyrics, especially in the bridge. You have always told me you'd not live past 25. Given all of the tragedy and all of the struggle that Lane, Jerry, I mean, everybody that they endured and that their friends had endured. And by this point, they had lost friends and they had lost associates. And, unfortunately, as we know, there would be more to lose as time went on. But it's strange, to hear people singing and playing songs that the subject matter of those songs almost foreshadows the end for them. And it's just a really, really strange thing. And I think I always can't help but approach this set with a sort of reverence for that and a sort of, just respect for the struggles,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to say that if you were to play, say, a drinking game to this, you get two, one for them messing up and starting over.
Reverence and respect.
I know.
That's all right. It's
Mike Inez also lights up a cigarette during this one, so you get to drink for a cigarette on stage.
There you go. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that was back in the day. I mean, and people wouldn't think twice. It's good, It's like Kurt's chain smoking during his unplugged. You gotta do it. It's important.
Yeah. All right, what's next? Down in a Hole, I believe.
Down in a Hole is in fact next, the fifth song. And I think by this point, like they got their first fuck up out of the way, and I think they're starting to settle in. And Down in a Hole, once again, one of those songs that, while it's kind of ballady in the way that it's constructed, this is a loud song when you heard it live. I mean, the guitar is just so heavy from Jerry. And then when you hear it unplugged, it really presents itself in such a different way. And, just once again, the vocal play on this one live, even with Lane in the spot that he was in, is really, really, really special. And it's incredible. And I just love the little, the flair that these guys were able to add to their voices and the way that they would overlay different lines at the same time in different parts. And, Jerry would hold his part a little bit longer and Lane would hold his part and then, drop down a little bit. It's just, it's eerie. It's so eerie. And they were able to do that whenever they wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. This one, when they harmonized, like I heard it and I'm like, there's so much life in Jerry's voice, If you would say that there's, Lane's is maybe not the same as it was, like Jerry is just it's so bright at the same time. It kind of cuts through when you hear it, when they harmonize together. It was really quite the pairing. I mean, it's amazing that they could sing together for so many years. Those type of duets and stuff in bands, you don't come around that very often.
Yeah. And that's the thing. In the same way that I think a lot of people who listen to Soundgarden forget to think about how good of a guitarist Chris Cornell was, because Jerry Cantrell is such a formidable guitarist, people sometimes forget to think about how talented he was as a vocalist. And I give a ton of credit to Lane for encouraging Jerry to use his voice more. Having been the chief songwriter, and lyricist a lot of times. I mean, the fact that we got more of his voice, his confidence grew, and he was able to present us with moments like that. Really, really special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's move on. To The Angry Chair coming in for number 6. And this is another one. It sounds so cool. And there's so little room for error, I think. And I can't help but think about, in the verse, what do I see across the way? Hey, and it's stop and go. And they hit everything just right. And this one, it's kind of, songs like this, and songs like Junkhead and Godsmack, they just kind of have that, like, this is not going to be the right word for it, but it almost sounds the music and the instruments almost sound like a little satanic, like they're just apocalyptic a little bit, and like not of this earth. It's strange, and it's
deep
to hear
and dark.
that, yeah, and to hear that in an unplugged setting, like it's almost the notes are correct, but it almost sounds abrasive when you're listening to it. And that you got the bass going, and you have the guitar going, hitting those riffs at the beginning. It's really, really cool.
And this song actually started with because they were doing some tuning. So Lane had a cigarette, but it's Jerry played like a little like the Agony on Me, like it was like a little like, upbeat like blues thing where he like sang over while Lane was tuning, and it was like pretty funny. It was like he said like if there was no bad luck, I'd have no luck at all, and like depression, despair, agony. He's like playing like a uppity riff with it, and then they go into sitting on an angry chair.
Yeah, and it's and this song, not that night, but it's cool. It was one of the only times that you would see Lane Staley with a guitar in his hand. He would play Angry Chair similarly to with Mad Season. He would play I Don't Know Anything. You get the guitar going, but it's cool. It's like these guys, they're so good at music that they can do things that you don't even think they could do, and the things that they would describe themselves being terrible at, they're they're better than you would ever be at it.
Right. Oh,
crazy stuff.
Yeah. All right, next one. Kind of moving through them.
Yeah, we're rolling.
Got a classic. Got Rooster on our hands, and this one. I mean, they nail this song. I feel like most live performances I've watched of them, they just kill Rooster, and this one's really fun to bring down a low level and hear it like this. I think that
especially the intro where they're doing that, like the ooze, so eerie. And this is classic Jerry Cantrell, like half step down guitar. I love the trio that we're gonna hit here of Rooster, Got Me Wrong, and Heaven Beside You. And a fun fact, this is probably the only like 3-song run on any sort of recorded music that I could play all 3 songs in a row on my guitar and follow through. And I do that quite often. But this one, Rooster, I mean, from the pen of Jerry, obviously, and Lane hits this one live, here on Unplugged, and I think this performance is kind of one of those that it is quite a bit different from the way that he was able to sing it previously, just as a result of everything that had been going on with him. But it's still, it fits the scene perfectly for that night, and right. I'm really happy that they included this one. And I think you get the case with a lot of these songs too, that I think their inclusion on the set list for Unplugged raised the attention a lot of people give to some of these songs. And Rooster, I think for me is certainly one of them.
Yeah. I'm just, it's a good one. It always is. It's a fun listen.
Yeah.
The next one, Got Me Wrong.
This might be my favorite song to play on the guitar.
Yeah. Why so? Why do you say? Just because of
because you just like, one, it's easy to play. Number two, as a testament to the to the guitar work and their creativity, it's easy, but it sounds so good that like you might not think that it's easy. And it's just so I love playing it too, because like I'll throw on the unplugged version of this and like I'll just listen along as Jerry and Lane are singing. Yeah, and it's just
Scott's playing the pick.
Scott Olson. I mean, the lead guitar that he played over this and the little licks that he included, especially at the end, like right before the song comes down, and the drums come down right at the end. I mean, he's just hammering this lick out, and it's so good. But this is some of my favorite harmonization that Lane and Jerry ever did. When they're hitting those wrongs and they're hitting and everything builds, then it stops, then Jerry hits Something's Gotta Turn Out Right, and then they go right back into it. This is just masterful songwriting and masterful performing. That's the word that I wanted to say. Yeah, this is a fun one. This one's really, really fun. And he's right. Something's got to turn out right.
Something's got to turn out right. Yeah, it's so hard to rank this. Like, you know, if you were to try to rank and say, like, because you could easily say, like, oh, this one is like the best of the night, but you could say that about literally anything. So it's just so fun to go through and listen to you can just watch the performance and enjoy it. And every song has something and is special. Next one, Heaven Beside You. Another great Jerry intro playing. Everybody kind of comes in behind him. And
this one's cool too because at the time, Heaven Beside You would have been the top hit off of their most recent record, off of the Tripod album. And this is the first show that they had done after that record had come out. So I think this might have been one that at the time people were looking forward to hearing live. And I love this song. I think this song lends itself better to the studio version because like the sound levels change on this song, and I think the electric guitar is so integral to how I hear the song. But still, when it's performed here, it's so good. And as I was saying, it was a really cool opportunity to hear a song that hadn't been in existence for that long. So there were, you could count on one hand the amount of times that you had a chance to hear something like this with Lane being in the band.
That's very true. Saying that, you think about if you go to see a show and you want to see certain songs or certain anticipations. Now, to be fair, they haven't played in a while, but so probably excited to hear anything. But this one probably was at the top of a lot of people's lists.
Yeah,
as well as Nutshell, the stuff they'd never heard.
Right. And speaking to the lyrical content of this song, this is a Jerry song about his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend at the time. I just love the bridge, how it starts. So there's problems in your life. That's fucked up. And I'm not blind. Like, I just picture like anybody in your life that you're over and they're trying to come back to you. It's like, all right, like you got problems. Like, it's fucked up, but like, that's it. That one's always kind of stuck with me, especially on the studio version. Like, you just hear this kind of, like we were saying, that abrasive sounding notes in the background, and then you just hear Jerry kind of like transmitting through, like, so there's problems in your life. That's fucked up. I'm not blind. I'm just really see-through, faded, super jaded, and out of my mind. Oh my God, that's so. And I love when
Coldest
I'm down
winter
in blue.
chill.
Yeah, man. Do what you want to do. Go out and seek your truth. And when I'm down in blue, rather be me than you. I mean, that is the ultimate line right there. But yeah, this one's really cool, and it is super groovy during the chorus. I mean, they get going, and like we were saying with the drums, they've got a little bit of swing to them. It's really cool.
Sean Kenny,
man, dude, it's funny every time we talk about
restraint and emphasis.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So every time we talk about a Soundgarden or a later Pearl Jam record, we always just end up turning it into a Matt Cameron fest. Like, Kenny Fest 2023 is officially on. It starts today.
It's amazing.
Like, he's incredible. I mean, like,
he really is, dude. He's so stoic back there, dude. He's in control. Like, he really
he's got that like long face. He's just it's
the Stonehenge, dude. He's just
he's the
stone man back there.
I love it. I love at the end of this performance, Lane butts in and he's like, I would have to say that this is the best show we've done in 3 years. And then Jerry's like, Lane, it's the only one.
Oh yeah. These guys are great.
Never devoid of a sense of humor.
Yeah, they were on point. All right. Next song, pretty lackluster song. We don't really talk about it all that much, so I don't know what you want to say about Wood.
I have one thing to say.
What's that?
To start this song, hello, Mike Inez. He brings this one in. Hello, Mike. Dude, yeah, I love that shot of him just hammering the bass intro to Wood with the "Friends Don't Let Friends Get Friends" haircuts underneath the sound hole. This is a great one. Obviously, I don't even. Do we have to talk about Wood?
No, that's not to say.
No.
It's great. It's good live. It's good acoustic. I think the ending is great.
It's good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I mean, snack time. You just turn to Wood.
It's our number one in our top 100. So
exactly. Which that's the episode right there. That's our magnum opus.
That's the headline.
Yeah, that is. So it's interesting. So we're 10 songs deep into this set list now, and
We're
all
just
of
getting
these
started.
songs, yeah, all of these songs are of particular importance, and I think they would be recognizable. And then they throw in frogs.
Yes.
So what do we think about frogs, Ethan?
Believe it or not, it's pretty haunting. And again, this is one of those things. I don't. Sean plays a very subdued, like it's very low level, but it's a pretty intense like beat that he does throughout the whole song, and it's very haunting. And I think it's like 7 minutes. It's like a 7 minute song that
it goes on for a bit. Yeah,
and it's an underrated gem to this concert. I think it's really good.
Yeah, and this song's fucking sad.
It is very sad, and it's like I said, it's very. I don't know. I think they put it in for a reason. I don't. Mm-hmm. I would love to talk to them about talk to Jerry about like what their goal or what their idea behind and the performance and the set list and stuff, and hear what they had to say. That'd be really cool.
And just like the chorus, like it's like that lamentation, like why does it have to be this way?
Yeah.
Be this way over and over, and
it's kind of like an acceptance of like it. It is.
Yeah,
it is this, and it's gonna be the downfall. Mm-hmm. And
a child sings an unclaimed tune. Innocence spins cold cocoon. Grow to see the pain too soon. I mean, you can't get. You can't get more blatant than that. Show me young, I'm raped. I've shown my fate.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those moments where I think like after the set list gets going and they're hammering away, and then similarly to how they opened with Nutshell, they put frogs in here to kind of it's such a blatant reminder of the stuff that they're dealing with at the time. And I am glad, obviously, having just recently, I was joking about the fact that it was included, but I mean, this one needed to be there, and the fact that it's there, and Lane, like you said, this one's really subdued, and it gives Lane space to sing and to do what he could at the time. And I think this one, almost just as much as Nutshell, is a encapsulation, I think, of that time and place that the band had found themselves in, in April of 1996.
Yeah, and in the last minute and a half, Lane, he starts talking to like a voice box, I think, or something like something, and he said, "In August I turned 28. I'm still young," and that's interesting. Interesting that he says that and brings that in, with all the past people that passed away at 27 and whatnot. And so
yeah,
it's a dark song, but
it really is.
They did it really good. Like, it's dark music it's one of those things. It's interesting. It's interesting how when music is so dark and you can't, like, obviously you don't want to pray. It's like a good piece of art, but you don't want to. I don't want to say you don't want to praise it too much, but it's one of those.
You need to give it its attention.
It's tough.
There's lessons in it, and there's perspective in that hopefully none of us ever have to, ever learn firsthand. But you can glean a lot of it, from the writings of people who were going through it or were around people who were going through it, and I think that's what Frogs is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to
number
Over
12.
Now.
Over Now. I have to say right from the jump, I love the laugh at the beginning, Lane's laugh at the beginning, and then they hit, and this is peak riff lord Jerry Cantrell, Over Now. Just the way that he plays this is so good, and it is pretty funny that this was not the last song of the performance. It's over now, but I mean, Ethan, we really like this song. We've quoted "We Pay Our Debt Sometime" many times back and forth, but an underrated part of this song, I think, is just the instrumental outro and how it kind of really slows down to a halt. It's like a come down, and like you've used the last bit of energy and you're just kind of like falling back to the surface with this one. Yeah,
this is well placed. I think obviously it could be the last one, but it's kind of fun that it's right before. And again, these guys just deliver all the time. It's such a good performance.
Yeah,
no doubt.
it really is. And thankfully that was not the last song. I love
I think the Over Now was taken out of was that one on the album, or did they pull that one off? Didn't they? In the
I don't recall. From the TV performance, there were a few that were moved in and about. And this last one, I don't believe was included, which makes a lot of sense why it was not included because it's The Killer Is Me. I just love when you watch this one. It's really funny. Lane's like, "Thanks, I think that's it," and the crowd obviously starts booing, and Lane's like, "Hey, fuck you, man." And then I think Jerry comes in and he's like, "This is something that we were screwing around with at sound check. I think we'll give it another shot and see how it sounds." But then he does this little like really funny satirical thing about politicians and senators. The senator don't like no woman. He prefers young boys in leather. Yeah, and he hits that comedic blues lick with the little yell, which is really really funny. But then he's like
Les Claypool kind of sounding thing.
Yeah, kind of. And then he just goes in and he's like, "It's called The Killer Is Me."
Yeah.
And I mean, man, the killer is me. This one's great. This one's also fantastic to play because it's incredibly easy. And I love this. I mean, you don't hear this one anywhere else. I mean, it obviously was not on an album, and here it is to close out Unplugged.
There was I saw a comment, and I'll read it. It says that riff has a very chaotic feeling to it. Although Jerry plays it in a gentle manner, I don't know him, but you can tell he's already used to all the crap and darkness in life and expresses it beautifully. And I thought that was great. I thought that was really, because it is a very weird, riff. It's a very kind of syncopated and different style that is tough to play for new people, like for someone if you were to try to play that, it's this stuff is like very hard if you're not. And it doesn't sound normal.
It doesn't sound normal, and it's just kind of like that.
Chaos is easy.
Similar to the effect of like if you're trying to fall asleep and like there's just something outside of your window like constantly tapping, like it's always there, and it like kind of makes you go crazy. Like this riff, like over and over and over again. And the song suits the lyrics suit the song perfectly. I love that line, "Insane the mind in the name of me, can't find the time to let things be." It's super super good, and I'm really happy that they were fucking around with this one at soundcheck and they decided to give it to us, because I mean this was the one shot that we had to get this song. I mean you don't find it anywhere else, it's really, really great. It's like super, super slow and prodding. And it's one of those, like I said, like if you listen to it a long time, it's like, oh, like this is going to have a negative impact on my psyche, but it just closes down and Jerry hits that last "let things be," and I think that at that point the crowd knows that that's the last one. And, they start going crazy, and, you get the famous line. Yeah. Jerry's like, "Thanks. That was a lot of fun." And Lane in his classic style, "I wish I could just hug you all, but I'm not gonna." Yeah.
It's good. It's so true. Perfect. It's like when you're like, if you're watching a movie and and like the drain, it's like a horror movie and the drain is dripping like one drip at a time, and it just keeps going like a pulse, and it's like driving them crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This. I mean, it was a perfect end, and like Lane just had that wit about him and that like kind of like wry, like comedic nature to himself that was seemingly with him, even at a moment like this. And he's just like those moments where you catch him smiling throughout the show. And those are some special images to be able to look back on. And it's a really special night to be able to look back on. And it comes at a very heavy moment in the band's history, and the end of that incarnation of the band's history, but what a in the midst of all of that struggle, like what a triumph it was to be able to put this show on and to be able to perform the way that they did, and as fans, to be able to have that gift and that show to have as a memory of what this era of the band was, is something that I try not to take for granted. however difficult it is because we're around this music all the time. But it shouldn't go unnoticed how special it is that this actually happened, and that
Right.
we're able to hold it close, and we're able to listen to it and enjoy it, 27 years later.
Absolutely. And it's fun to be able to talk about this, go back and listen with intent. Like you said, we have a good reason to go back and kind of like, pay attention. And
Yeah, man.
And man, what it would be like to be. I mean, I hate to say this. Like, I wish I was there. Like, I couldn't imagine being
like
there.
that phrase gets thrown around a lot, but like
It
this
does.
is one where it actually.
Well,
Yeah.
and the reason I say that, like, I'm watching, I'm like, I don't really see how I could, something could replicate these unplugged shows. Like,
Right.
I don't really know. Like, I've seen intimate shows, and I've had intimate shows, but like, this one seems different, and I don't know if. I mean, I'm sure that it can be captured as certain connections with bands, but I'm trying to think of like the artists I know and stuff. I'm like, I don't really know who could perform something that would really.
Yeah. Well, it's like that was a point. That
Parallel
was a point
this.
in
It just is
time,
not.
right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's really hard to kind of think about. Like, I don't even know where it would start. So, it's an amazing piece of art.
Yeah,
The
it
whole
certainly
night.
is. So
Special.
we're very happy that we have this one, and we're very happy that the calendar was kind enough to give us the anniversary of this on a podcast release day. It was a no-brainer to choose that as the subject for this week's episode. And Ethan,
It's funny because we came to the conclusion to do it, and then we found out that it also was the date.
Yes.
So we didn't even really go to the calendar first,
Yeah,
which
it was
I
perfect.
love.
Yeah, Ethan was like, let's do one of the unplugged, and we're like, all right, like let's do Alice. I mean, we've been heavy in the Alice in Chains for some time now, and we haven't done a proper episode, and just by happenstance, it turns out that
Literally
this
the
is one.
same day that's coming out. I couldn't believe it. So that was
So
great.
my one closing question as it relates to the unplugged world, Ethan, should we do Grunge Bible unplugged? What would
we do?
What would
Would we
an
just
unplugged
use our,
version
like,
of the podcast look like? We would just shout.
Just
like,
our laptop mics.
yeah, we would.
we use shitty microphones. I would do it.
Or we just get together on the same laptop, like in a park, and like no sort of sound. Yeah, it's unplugged.
I'm in, dude. I would love it.
Or we just take a trip to every listener's home and we just knock on the door and present an episode from their doorstep.
I mean, we could do a live podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, simple
That's
as
the
that.
thing.
We could do it.
Yeah,
we've thrown around
no more
that
digital.
idea.
We're going analog, the good old days.
I'm in for that. That sounds great.
That's fucking sweet. Yeah, we got to do that. Well, if
Thank
you're
you.
still with
got
us, we'd like to thank you. It's funny. I think for the last couple of months, we've been getting a lot more people who have chosen to check out the show and seemingly have chosen to stick around for subsequent episodes. So that really, really means a lot to us. I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, and the fact that other people are able to enjoy it in the same way that we enjoy making it is really, really special, and it's not lost on us. Given the week in, week out monotony of life, sometimes we do this every week, but we have multiple points throughout the week where we just kind of think about the fact that it's special, and I'm really happy that we're able to do this. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all of your support in any way that you so choose to support us. We are immensely and eternally grateful for that.
Eternal. Yes.
Eternal. Yeah, forever. Can't
Shout
kill
out
it.
to our producer Drew McFadden.
Drew.
He's got our back. He does a
our
wonderful
guy.
job each week. We're very thankful to have him part of this enterprise, and can't wait to be doing more, and can't wait to get some good interviews, some more people. We haven't had one in a while.
Well, we
Chris.
are working hard behind the scenes to get some good folks onto this show. There's
We're
some
being
big
patient.
things
The main
coming.
thing is we're being patient, people.
Yeah.
That's what you guys need to know out there. 'cause
We
we
are
don't
the
just wanna-
Sean Kenny of podcast hosts.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Patient yet aggressive.
Yes, we're showing restraint, but then when it's time, we're going to emphasize everything. So
Yeah. I can't believe I just compared ourselves to Sean Kenny. That's a cardinal sin, but who cares?
well, it happens sometimes.
It's the way that it goes. So
So,
No, I'm giving this to you, Ethan. I'm serving it up to you. Yeah, let's take care of this. Our last couple more segments. Yeah, let's go. I love this segment.
Our final segment. This is the part where we blend. We have our songs of the week, but we also blend in. We have been really hammering home the concerts and talking about them. And honestly, Chris, I think that's one of. I mean, we have our duty to talk about grunge rock.
Grunge rock.
That's our number one duty, obviously, to talk about the old. But in reality, our passion is talking about the new and talking about the shows that we see. We've been on this kick for the last 2.5 years of seeing shows. We've just been hammering them out. And lo and behold, Chris and I both went to a concert in the past week. And yeah, Chris, we're definitely ahead of most people. We're seeing a lot of shows these days.
Yeah, we are. So last year I went to like 20 of them, and I'm already ahead of the I'm ahead of the pace of last year. And last year was a big PR, so I get really PR this year if I try to. And I think I might try because they're fucking fun and they're cool.
They are.
They're really cool.
They are really good. So I'll go first because mine happened earlier. So mine happened last Sunday. I got some merch on my head. I'm wearing a goose hat. The goose is loose, Chris, and we've talked about this. They've came up on the pod, and they are a jam band that has been, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? They've been the predecessors to, the Deadheads and the Fish.
Well, predecessor means before.
Oh shit! Yeah, not the predecessor.
Whatever the opposite of predecessor is.
They've been anointed the second wave of the jam band. Yeah, not predecessor. Sorry.
That's all right.
Classic. And
what are you gonna do?
But I feel like I've been listening to them, and I feel at home with them. So I've been kind of slowly getting dipping my toes in. I'm feeling really good. So they came through town and played at Avondale, and went with 3 good friends, and actually during the show, somebody had called in basically Milo some fast food chicken tenders. And all of a sudden, we were standing there in the middle of the show. And you can imagine if you've been to like a festival and you're just like dying of like, thirst or hunger. And you're just like, man, like I really just wish I had like some greasy food. And then like I wish they would just show up and I wouldn't have to go anywhere. That happened with us. Somebody showed up behind and had like their mom, somehow they snuck it in and they just gave us like these chicken tenders. And it was like, it was just amazing. Imagine yourself like, in
you get concert. Some tendies. That's great.
And something just pops up. Yeah. So anyway, the show was really good. And the song that I'm going to pick is Fish in the Sea. It's really fun. It's groovy. And what they do is they kind of come back to it like later throughout the show. So they played it in the first set and they came back to it the second set. And they'll kind of tease it here and there to kind of, in my eyes, simulate different fish in the sea. I don't know, coming up the fish like randomly in the ocean or something.
Ethan's becoming a jam band guy, everybody.
I think I am, dude. Yeah. I understand. Like I want to kind of watch. I want to watch the concert back.
You've got that look in your eyes now that you didn't have.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it in my voice?
Yeah, there's some changes that people undergo. You can just hear it in their voice, and this is one of them. Like you are not. Our conversations that we had prior to this show were different. You're a different man now. It's
like those videos. It's like first day of living in Boston. It's like second day.
Voice 1 hour.
This is my
Boston.
voice. Yeah, this is my voice 3. Hey y'all, this is my voice 4 weeks in Boston.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But
so
that's what you have to do.
Yeah, Fish in the Sea and Goose. I'm just gonna plug them again. So that was really fun.
Oh yeah, I like that.
You're up, Chris.
Goose guy.
What did you see this week?
So I saw, I had a little bit of a concert situation going on. I got to see Friends of Grunge Bible, Hello Mary, live for the first time, which is really, really fucking cool. So we've known them. They're from Brooklyn. We've known them since 2020. We started chatting with them a little bit, shared their music starting in 2020. They were doing some super, super cool stuff. So between then and now, they have just fucking put the work in. They've gotten so good. They're signed. They're on French Kiss Records. They played KEXP with Cheryl Waters, which I'm very jealous that they got to speak to Cheryl Waters. They just put out their first full album, and they're touring. They were playing they played a bunch of shows earlier this year at, I always mix South by Southwest and Austin City Limits up. Austin City Limits just happened, right? That's the one.
I thought
whatever one of those just occurred. They played a bunch of shows there. They're supporting Deerhoof on a tour recently, and then they're going back out on the road this summer. But this is the first time, on the tail end of the panty, we've been able to meet. So I missed them when they came to Providence last year, but I was not going to miss them. They were the second band up last night when I saw them, and they were just absolutely incredible. And afterwards, we got to finally meet in person, which was really cool. Got to spend some time, hang out. As good as musicians as they are just as good of people, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them again on the road and keeping in touch with them, and just kind of seeing where their talents take them, because they're very, very talented. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things when you're an opener, people go for the headliner, and when the opener goes on, you got that minute and everybody's looking at you. They don't really know who you are, what you're about. I heard people like asking other people like, oh, who is this? And you've got that minute to show people what you're about, and that's what they do. And you could tell by 2 minutes into the first song, like, people were into it, people were hooked in a special way. Whatever that is not measurable, those intangibles, as a band, they've got it. And I'm really, really happy that, at this point we're able to call them friends, and we're able to support them in whatever silly little way we're able to with this silly little podcast and silly little social media presence. But yeah, man, Hello Mary, they're really, really awesome. And I'm going to pick off of their most recent and first full-length studio album, I'm going to pick the song Droopy Eyes. So that's my song of the week.
Awesome. Did you already pick Droopy Eyes from them?
Did I already pick Droopy Eyes? I don't remember.
I feel like you may have.
I probably did. Well, you know what? I'm gonna, as the co-host, I'm just gonna say put it on again.
Double
I
it
don't
up.
care.
Double it up. All right.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to put it on again.
Awesome. I'll check later.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that concludes this week's episode. I am jealous that you got to see them. I'm trying to think of other bands that we've been able to, like, and meeting up and seeing them live is so fun. It's been tough. There's been a lot of opportunities that we just missed out, like a few in LA that we just missed. So
yeah,
that's really special, and that's what we live. That's why we do this, Chris. Let's be real.
It is cool because it's like, you have a common passion, and what little things we can ever do to support people like that, we're happy to do it. And that's what it's all about. It's about making friends and sharing and cool stuff, and we'll make the friends and they're making the cool stuff. So we'll call it even, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's it. That's all we have, folks. So thank you again. And we will be back next week to deliver another awesome podcast. Not sure. Who knows what it could be about? Who knows who we may have on? Yeah. We're still figuring it out. So, but it's going to be great. And we can't wait to be there with you.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time, everybody. I hope you have a lovely week ahead, and I hope you're well wherever you are and whenever you are. So take care, everybody, and rock and roll.
Rock and roll, everybody.